Hello, I'm Tiffany Ford, and I am the Director of Education and Outreach and the Director of Improv at American Stage in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I am here today to share with you some creative play activities and some improv games that you can do at home with your family. Now, we have all been quarantined and in shelter in place and social distancing for a few weeks now. So some of you who've been hunkering down with your families might be getting a little tired of each other. You know, grateful to spend quality time together, yada, yada, yada. But I'm going to share some activities with you today to foster positive and collaborative communication using the tools of improv so that you don't strangle your family members. This idea is brought to you by one of our amazing acting and production apprentices, Sky Lindbergh. To quote Kelly Leonard from the Second City, the executive vice president at Second City, improv is yoga for social skills. It really requires us to be present and be specific and be flexible. And really, those are tenets for great positive communication. So, lesson number 1, be present. To me, that means make eye contact, use active listening, connect with your partner. At home, you can play a game called Electric Company to practice. And you can do this a few different ways. You can just stand if you're in a small group or just a couple people, you can just stand and go back and forth or sit and go back and forth with each other. Or if you have a big family, one person can stand in the center of a circle of other players. And that person in the center is it. And they will start, everybody will start by creating a rhythm, snapping or clapping. And that person who's it will pick someone in the circle, make eye contact with them, and say one syllable. It could be a syllable of a word they're imagining, the first syllable of a word they're imagining, or it could just be a random sound. So blue, and then the next person, the person they're looking at, would do one more syllable to complement and build on that sound that they just heard. So if I said blue and the other person said purr, we'll all say blue, purr, do-do, do-do. And then I'd hop to the next person and then say a new syllable like free, and the other person might say dumb, and we'd all say free, dumb, do-do, do-do. And you go on like that. And really the goal is to not think about it, just to say the first thing that comes to your head, to really use your instincts and let that come up through being present with the other people with you and really listening and seeing what you can create together. It doesn't matter if it's a real word or not. You know, it's cool when it's a real word, but it's also fun when it's a silly made up word too. Lesson 2, be specific. This is an activity that really encourages you to embellish on details and kind of gets you comfortable being specific, because that being specific helps you reach honesty, and that's when you discover really interesting things, and that's when you make really great connections with people and discover things you wouldn't have otherwise. Our American Stage improv instructor, Gavin Stark, reminded me of this game. 2 actors are on stage, and the first person, we'll call them actor A, just describes their day, just starts to describe their day. So I might say, I woke up, I took my dog Indigo, that's her. She's a 5-month-old blue heeler, and she's awesome. I took my dog Indigo to the park, and we played ball, and actor B might interrupt me at some point, not really by stopping me or saying anything, but just by using a hand gesture to encourage me to extend like this. And that means go into more detail about what you just said. So if I just said, I took Indigo to the park and we played ball, actor B might do this, and I'll say, and, you know, it was such a beautiful day. It was so sunny out, and the grass had just been cut, and it just smelled so fresh, and she looked so adorable in the sunlight, until actor B does a return gesture. So they might do something like this. And that just kind of means get back to the story. So extend means go into more detail with what you just said. And then return means go back and continue the story. So then I would go on to what happened next in my day. And so that's a really great way of just sharing. That's one that I'll definitely use with Indigo. And I'm sure she'll have a lot of great detail to share when it's her turn. Lesson number 3. Be flexible. This is where you might hear the phrase yes and, which is such a popular lesson in improv. And that's really all about accepting the reality of what your partner is giving. And you got your ball. Good girl, you got your ball. Go get it. And then building on it. And accepting the reality, yes, saying yes, isn't about agreeing all the time, but I've accepted the reality of what she's gifted. And that's really what's important about yes. And then I build on it by adding information. Good catch, Indigo. Good girl. Those are the building blocks of the collaboration and how you create something you wouldn't have thought of on your own. So because of that is a story game where we will each add one sentence to the story at a time. And so the story will start with just a basic sentence that gives us some context and some who, what, where, when, maybe a little bit of why for these stories. So Indigo lost her bone in the backyard today. That might be the first sentence of my story. And the next person would say, because of that, so they would be referencing directly what I just said. They wouldn't be going before it. They wouldn't talk about why or how Indigo lost her bone or what's going to happen in the future. They just say one clean, clear, specific sentence about what happens as a direct result of that. So because Indigo lost her bone in the backyard today, or because of that, she dug a hole. And then I might say, or the next person might say, because she dug a hole, she dug one so deep that she went all the way to the other side of the planet. And then the next person might say, because she dug a hole to the other side of the planet, she ended up in Australia. And then the next person might say, and because of that, she found other dingoes that became her new loving family. And she looked at them and said, oh my goodness, you guys are my soulmates. And then because of that, she ran away with the Australian dingoes and never saw her mom again. That would be a terrible end to the story. But you get my point. Maybe we can end the story by saying, because of that, she called her mom on the phone and said, come out here, there's so many adorable dingoes, come play with us. And so then her mom moved to Australia. The end. Anyway, so the point of that is letting the story take you to a place you wouldn't have thought of. And that really is getting to the core of why we communicate, why we collaborate, why we work together as human beings, and how we can develop and grow and progress as human beings as well. So it's just like a little microcosm of what that is. We'd love to hear more about what your experience was with all of these activities. It's about communicating and collaborating together, but it's also about laughter. Laughter is so important right now, and because it breaks boundaries and breaks egos and brings us together. If I can encourage you guys to do anything, it is to laugh together. Thanks for joining me and Indigo today. And we at American Stage hope to see you soon. We will return.